Hey, happy Thursday. Welcome to another edition of the Brother to Brother Lockdown brought to you by LGBT Detroit and the Michigan State Department of Health and their Together initiative. My name is Tony Kristen Walker, and no, my name is not Tony Kristen Walker. Why you got this written out here, Jan? My name is Tony Billups. I got married 2 weeks ago. Uh, so, um, and I am a native of Birmingham. I'm an HIV activist, advocate, and educator. I'm also a author, podcaster, father, grandfather, mentor to many. I believe that the only way to end HIV is that we have more intentional involvement of those affected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on our panelists, and then we'll go over the rundown of what the show is going to be like, and we're going to get this party started. So first, coming to the stage, Mr. Brandon Merriman Bodie. Born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, he is a higher education professional and sexual health advocate. He has a passion for positive health awareness and believes that in order for us to have truly authentic, safe spaces as people, we have to truly accept and embrace and learn to grow from our vulnerability. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, it's gonna be
Hey,
season 10 before I update that bio, I tell you.
bruh. Anyway, next we have Twinkle. That's Jonathan Ford, born and raised in Dallas, Texas. He is an HIV advocate and an ambassador for over 8 years. Jonathan has a social media engagement with over 75,000 followers across 3 platforms, in which he uses it to spread truth and bring awareness about HIV stigma within communities of colors. Twinkle, what's up? Oh, you got a new name now. It's like I need to get back on Instagram. Anyway, everybody got a new name. Everybody's so creative. Next, we have J. Lloyd Allen. J. Lloyd joined the faculty of Wayne State University as an assistant professor in the School of Social Work. He is a qualitative researcher who explores the ways that the GLBT individuals communicate with their parents about their sexual orientation and sexual behaviors. He is currently working on a project that explores parents' struggles with understanding their child's sexual orientation and the various sexual identities. He's also an advocate for open communication regarding sexual identity development between members of the GLBT community. Lastly, he loves doing research on and about the lives and experiences of GLBT individuals. What's up, J. Lloyd?
What's good? What's happening?
It's hot. I need to turn my air conditioner on. Anyway, next we have Chris Sutton. Chris is a Detroit-based storyteller with over 10 years of experience, a professional experience in the art of filmmaking, cinematography, and video editing. Currently, Chris has joined the LGBT Detroit team as their full-time broadcast coordinator, where he assists in developing the LGBT broadcast network, Detroit Podcast Network, as well as sharing his creative talents on various programs, including Listen Together, Cold as Hell, Hotter Than July, Talk Together, and of course, Brother to Brother. What up, Chris? What up, Shouty? It's Danny, let me quote. Anyway, and I think is Chris here? Oh, okay. I guess he's not. I read all that for nothing. Dion. So next we got Dion Davison. Hailing from Detroit, Michigan, Dion Davison is a dynamic and accomplished individual with a passion for nature and a drive to make a positive impact on his community. He is the new regional organizer for Black Voters Matter Fund. As a skilled policy debate coach and community organizer, Dion has dedicated his career to empowering young people and promoting critical thinking and civic engagement. I think that's it. Oh, where is Keith? Keith, I'm sorry, Keith. I skipped all over yours. Don't you get being late. Next, we have Keith Townsend, a North Carolina native. Keith has worked in higher education for 10 years. He is also a podcaster in his spare time. Keith loves to be a part of anything increasing awareness on the LGBT community. Well, okay, I think that's it. How y'all doing? All right, I'm gonna take that as y'all doing okay. So tonight's topic is "It's not a laughing matter." As we remember a few months ago when they were trying to confirm the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, the behavior of the GOP members of the House of Representatives was laughable. Like literally, they were doing some like bald headed hoe type stuff. Since then, things have gotten less funny. On tonight's show, we want to explore and discuss all of the anti-democratic actions happening around our respective states and the country at large. There's still something to laugh about. Why is the party who is supposed to be the self-proclaimed patriots working to undo everything patriots are supposed to stand for and hold close to their heart? So that's a lot. But like literally, y'all, it's almost like they keep saying the part that they shouldn't be talking about. I was watching Ron DeSantis today talking about how Disney was weaponizing. And I'm like, who weaponized the government more than him? So for my first question, I gotta find it. Hold on, y'all. Sorry, I was using two screens, and I'm old and don't know how to do that well. Okay, here we go. Sorry about this. All right, so first question, or first topic of discussion. The so-called patriots are working so hard to erase individual freedoms, including women's right to terminate a pregnancy, LGBTQ rights, including offering gender-affirming care. For a group of people who claim that they're about individual freedoms, why do you think they're doing this, knowing that the majority of the company does not agree with them? And it's a jump ball. Who wants it?
I think that it was a part of them thinking that they are utilizing our constitutional rights. I think that they are going through and feeling like that they are taking on the approach of saying that we are working for the common good of the people and taking their collectives. And honestly, the common good for people looks like what your circle of people look like when you deal with, if you don't think outside of your box. So if in your box you think that, this is just hideous and that, what direction are we moving in? And I mean, this is all what happens when you take prayer out of school. Like, if that's what your theme is and that's where you're going with things, then you're automatically in this circle of people that are in alliance with you, and you feel like that you're standing your constitutional rights, and that these are you withholding the rights of the people, and they feel like they are really protecting the people. They don't see that they're doing anything wrong. They don't feel like they're against anybody. They are protecting the people. They are here to make sure that we can live to see another day.
I'm gonna take notes because I'm gonna push back on that. Who next?
I feel personally like the veil has just been lifted, and I think that people are no longer or people are just kind of catching on, but I think that they know, and so I think that also it's like they're trying to give like pushback, like aggressive pushback, which is just kind of weird, but they really should just kind of hang it up. I don't know. And Tony, I wish you could speak to it too. I don't know if you can since you're hosting tonight.
This is my show. This is my juice joint.
But it's just kind of weird to me that they are, like you said, it's weird. It's just like let us control because we know what's best for y'all. And it's just like they try to push this religion, the same religion that should be traumatizing to Black people, down our throats. And it's just everybody's waking up and hip to what's really going on. And I don't think that they are able to deal with it. They can't take.
Okay.
I want to agree with it because the veil regarding it has lifted, because the veil was respectability politics, right? Let's respect women. Let's respect the LGBT plus community. Let's respect
democracy. Let's
respect democracy. But when it comes to actually doing democracy, actually doing the work, we have a bunch of straight white men who we're asking to think outside of their proverbial box, step outside of their comfort zone of like what it means to be straight, white, and male, and think about other minoritized or minority groups. And they don't know how to do that. And I think that's where all of this is coming from. They're operating within their comfort zones, and people are electing them because that's also their comfort zone. I think the groups who are being offended or not being heard are not represented equally within Congress, or they don't have that loud of a voice. So that's all. But that's what I'm thinking.
Anybody else want to handle this?
If it ain't white, it ain't right. That's what they think.
Woo, come on, Holy Ghost. Brandon.
Well, I think it's just I mean, like it's always been. It's always been a distraction, and I think more so now we see that more than ever. And I think that people are paying a lot closer attention and scrutinizing things more and asking more questions and peeking behind the curtain more. And people in power, since I guess the beginning of time, don't like that. You don't want to know what it looks like when the villagers start to question the kingdom, and that's I think what's going on. And so we just have to again arm ourselves and pay attention and continue to encourage young people to do what they're doing. I think they're a lot worse than in some regards than people that marched in the 60s, because they are very clear and apparent that they will not stop. They will press forward and use whatever tactics they deem necessary. And that's kind of the scary part, because we know what type of people live amongst us these days, good or bad, whatever the intentions, we know how things can go. And so I think we just need to be prepared for that.
Dion, newcomer, newbie.
One of the things that I really noticed is how much the other side puts these types of issues on the political back burner because it's a minority issue. A lot of the times from a white heteronormative space, not only is it hard to get them to think outside of their social location, but it's even harder for them to place value within conversations that are important or centralized within minority communities. And I feel like a blanket of invisibility that the other side would like to cloak around these issues. And everyone has already said that people are starting to unmask the veil, if you will. And as a response to that, I feel like you see a lot of the hard backlashes from the other side in order to regain some sort of political foothold of control over, non-heteronormative bodies within our nation.
I'm gonna chime in on that. A couple things y'all said that I kind of agree with, and then I'm like, okay. So the problem with this is the fact that they are yet in the minority, and so for years, Eric Holder and Barack Obama was talking about gerrymandering, and see, we think about what we talk about the symptom and not the real problem. The real problem is actual gerrymandering. So they're not in the majority. So we already know it's minority rule. The second part is the fact that I'll take Alabama, for instance. Alabama has 9 districts. We are supposed to have 2 districts after the last census that will be reliably Democratic. Okay, that will be one of the 5 seats that we need in the House of Representatives. But what the Supreme Court do? They say we're not going to change this right now because it's too close to election. My whole thing is what the fuck are y'all doing now? We ain't got no elections coming up. Let's go ahead and get this district drawn so that we can do what we need to do. But it's even the people who are on our side are not even paying attention. The other thing that I have an issue with is it's not our job to get them to think out of their box. It's okay to think in your box, but when you look at the fact that people vote their conscience, what you think only applies to you. The biggest rule about our rights is our rights, your rights, Jay Allen, your rights end when they infringe upon mine. A woman's right to terminate a pregnancy ain't got to do with nobody's rights on this planet. Who I decide to love, marry, or make love to ain't got nothing to do with them. So it's not even about getting them to think out of their box. The majority of America does not agree with them, and they have gerrymandered the system to where they just don't care. They just don't even care anymore. It's let's just say the shit that we've been keeping quiet out loud, because that's what we're gonna do. Brandon, you got something? Come on.
No, I was just going to agree with that. They're basically saying do something about it, and I think again that can be good and bad, because it depends on who you're saying that to. And we're seeing a lot of that right now, where there has been a lot of what they would call unrest, where it's just people exercising their voice. So I definitely would like to echo and agree with that. But you can't put baby in a corner, and I've said that more times than I could count on this show. And so you continue to push us, and you'll see what we do.
Yeah, and that could be pretty problematic. I just sent John. So look, I looked at the questions and they are messed up, and so I'm just gonna wing this next one. So it was something I was thinking about though.
Tony,
so,
the questions are in your text.
You just sent it?
I sent them a couple minutes ago.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so okay, so we talked about that part, and they don't care about the truth anymore. Which brings us to the Dominion versus Fox News decision. Um, Tucker Carlson, everybody on Fox News are getting paid to lie. I think it's ironic and funny that Tucker got fired this week for lying that they told him to do. Like, if anybody gets to sue, it should be him and not Don Lemon. Because they have paid him to lie for the last 10, 15 years. And now, since this lying that they told him to do has gotten them into trouble, now they got to get rid of him. So, like, when you think about this particular decision, do you think that justice was served? And if not, why?
Definitely do, because I was ready to see him go. Tucker, this one blew up. This one finally blew up, and now some money has to be paid. Now you let him go. This is not the first fuck up that Tucker has done. This is not the first lie that he's told, and this is not the first time he's did something destructive to the name of someone else. Like it's not, and I don't think that it was ever going to stop until they finally had to be made an example out of. With the money, if it still wouldn't have been for a lawsuit, this conversation wouldn't even be had. Because I don't think that they felt that they had a case. They were standing on the rights of that they had the right of freedom of speech, and that they were only conducting the research of what the general public was stating, and they were basically like, "We're just repeating what we heard." But come on now, you're an accredited news source that has.
No, they're not. They are definitely not.
Well, I mean,
they're supposed to be.
They're supposed to be an accredited news source, and you knew what you were doing. You knew that you were pulling the coattails of the of those that had any question, and trying to oppose the doubt that this election was wrongly won. You knew what you were doing. So no, I do think justice was served as far as making an example out of him. Will this change Fox News? No. It's just a slap on the wrist, I think, technically for them.
Yeah, you know what they say, hit them where it hurts. And once their financial pocket got hurt with almost $1 billion, that man had to say, we're not going to do this anymore. Because,
his salary can help out.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody watched Fox News in the last couple of days? Have they changed?
No, I don't watch them now. They ain't about to, no, they're not.
I don't watch
on my
them.
TV.
I know they lying.
I don't even watch Fox. It's on my TV.
Anybody else?
I don't think justice was necessarily served. One thing that's very interesting about like conspiracy theories, especially the ones regarding, like, especially for our people, it gets a lot of black folks lost in the sauce. There's incalculable damage to our democracy that I feel like is done because there's millions of people who still will fall into the belief that there is some sort of rigged election, and that type of epistemology in itself leads to different actions like what we've seen with the white folks tearing up the Capitol, right? And so I feel like even though it did send a message to Fox, when we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar media company, it's more like a slap on the wrist. Like, you got caught this time, but it doesn't necessarily change your game plan long term.
Echoing and agreeing with that, I don't think necessarily justice was served. I'm glad that something actually happened, but Rupert Murdoch isn't worried about $700 million necessarily. And he is not smart in the fact that if he feels like he's the only person with some type of kill file or dossier, Tucker Carlson is more stupid than I actually give him credit to be. If you've been working there that long and you haven't compiled your own kill file to take him down, you're a dummy. And so if people think that this is the end of it and we've heard the end of him, I don't think that we have. And I'm ready for my popcorn. The infighting has started and I'm ready to see how it turns out.
Well, this really wasn't even about Tucker. This was about Fox, and then they made Tucker the scapegoat, which is, what white folks do. Like, there is no loyalty.
And
he's been doing all this. Say that again, Brandon.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and that's what I mean. Like, if you've been sitting around just thinking that they won't hang you out to dry, he's a complete and utter idiot. Of course they will. They're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. We're going to let just one person take us down. Lauren Ingram's next, and I'm really excited to see what will happen with her.
So let me ask you this. The last part of the question I said, do you think justice was served? I don't think justice was served. I don't even think that. I really wish they hadn't settled, because they didn't make him apologize for telling those lies. So those lies are still floating out there. And if I've been lying to Dion for the last 3 years, and Jay Allen been trying to tell me, y'all know he lying, Dion, he lying. Unless I say that I lied, Dion ain't gonna care what J. Lo says. So, like, for me, that's the problem. That's the problematic part in all of this, is that there have been literally, other than $750 million, which, let's just be real, them rich folks don't care about $750 million. They are like multi-billionaires. Who gives a shit about $750 million? They should have made them apologize. They should have made them come forth. And like Wilson, like, well, they got clapped with a fine. Screw that. They need to tell the truth. No one has made them tell the truth to their dumb listeners, and that is inherently a problem for me.
But I get what you're saying, but I also think that part of it is it starts with accountability, right? And they've been lying. We know they've been lying since Trump was in office.
If you turn on right now, they still lying now.
They are. I mean, they probably are. I don't watch Fox News as much. I mean, I tend to watch Fox News sometimes to hear what other people are thinking, but but I tend to turn it off because I just can't deal with the BS.
But you get what I'm saying, though.
I get what you're saying, but I also want us to consider, like, hey, this is what happens when you spew, right? When you start to hit people where the money reside, quote unquote, then they start to make changes. Because if no one gave him the money, he would still be on the TV, still be doing the same shit. And it's not going to stop, but right now it's going to be tempered.
I just don't think
something else is going to have to happen for a bigger change to come. So
I just don't think it's a change. I just feel like it's what we see all the time. If we do something wrong, we'll just pay for it. We don't really have to accept any consequences or accountability. And we just saw what those votes for their specific base is worth. It's worth $700 million. They are not going to get on national TV and tell those MAGA Republicans that they lied. That would be the implosion of. They should.
Dominion could have forced them to do that as part of their settlement. They could have. They just chose not to, because they're also a bunch of rich white men. Dion, you want to say something, bro? What you got to say?
I feel like what's interesting is that, like, what we're not taking in consideration is like how important Tucker Carlson is to that white base. And so I feel like him leaving Fox necessarily or getting fired from Fox isn't a punishment for Tucker Carlson. The amount of base that he was able to build while staying there, he's going to be able to, start his own conservative podcast, his own institution, his own platform. And what was interesting about Tucker Carlson being fired, the reason why he was scapegoated is he was a big part of the reason why Fox got finessed out those millions in the first place, because his private text messages showed and agreed that he knew that his coworkers were lying, which made him.
How is that his fault? Like, he was like, they paying me to lie, so I'm gonna lie. Because if you don't lie,
tell nobody.
You get fired.
You got to tell nobody
don't lie and get fired at Fox News. Think about the people who have left Fox News. Chris Wallace is on MSNBC. Chris Wallace is on MSNBC because he didn't want to go along with the BS. So, like, I see what y'all saying, but, like, I don't think there's been any accountability. I'm sorry. What y'all think in the audience? Y'all ain't making no comments. Usually y'all popping over in the chat. Y'all ain't saying nothing. But, like, I don't see where there was accountability. It's just like when black men get shot. Oh, let's give these Negroes $200,000, $300,000 for this boy that got shot, and we're not going to hold these police accountable. There is no accountability. Yeah, CNN. No, Zaire, you're right. One of them. I know he ain't on Fox no more. All right, so that horse is dead. So again, in American foolishness and fuckery, we saw that a young 16-year-old boy went to the wrong house, rang the doorbell, and was shot twice through the door. What has contributed to this? Like, what would make somebody that afraid of somebody not even breaking in the house, Like, it's not like he was banging on the door trying to shake the door to get in. And this little boy got shot. What do you think contributed to that, and how can we fix it?
He was 84 years old. That was what contributed to it. He was 84 years old. So that man was born in what, 1939. So his whole life, he's had the privilege of being a white male that could do what he wanted, as he wanted to, when he wanted to. So when that little black boy came and knocked on his door, his 84-year-old mind is still conditioned to the lifestyle that it's always been. He thought that he had the right to shoot him because he was on his door. If he had did it in 1949, it wouldn't have been no discussion about it. It would have, the boy was at the wrong place, should have been on his doorstep, and it would have been all it was to it. And I think that him not being a part of the social media turn and what's going on now is maybe as sharp as he should be or could be. He just did what he would have always done.
What do you think
Everybody did
news? What do you think he got his news from?
Fox.
Okay.
Come on, plug.
I'm just curious to know, like how old was he, Keith? You said
84. He was 84.
Like, I'm wondering if he still like has the mental capacity to, like, you know, drive a car, if he's still like moving, then it makes me ask the question as to, like, if he's not capable of doing certain things, why is he carrying a gun? Or why is he, like, I don't know. That's just kind of weird to me in the first place. And I didn't even know he was that old.
Jonathan. We about to have an 84-year-old president if we win this next election. We don't know what people's faculties are going to be when they're that age. There are good 84-year-olds who get around great. There's some who got a little bit of dementia. But at the end of the day, this is because of fear mongering it's all about where you fed from. This is all about where you fed from. If you fed from the Fox News spigot, this tempers your beliefs. This literally tempers your beliefs.
Crazy.
And I really think that he is going to try to plead the old man that was scared.
Oh yeah.
This young black man came on his doorstep. He didn't know what to do. He was, fearing for his life, like all of that. And I bet you, if we get the digging, we'll see that he probably had a few little incidents in the last 84 years. This is not because, I mean, even for anybody to pull a gun on somebody coming to their doorstep, even if you are fearing for your life, you're still in fear to take the life that you are in fear of consciously. Like, I just don't believe that even when somebody is breaking into your home and you are threatening your harm and you're still scared, but you're like, okay, well, bitch, I gotta get you before you get me. But you're still scared.
Okay, I want somebody else to take this. I'm going to do a segue into the same conversation. Explain why you had thousands of white people armed at the White House on January 6th with hundreds of police officers there, and they shot one person. Yet you can have an unarmed black boy, not even this little boy who is at this 84-year-old man's house, but we're talking about a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old black boy without a gun who are encountering young police officers who are not 84 years old. Make sense for me.
Because being black is a crime, and people do not want to say that, but it is. When certain types of people see black skin, they inherently think that we are going to, at any point, being provoked to do something wrong. And so I think if people really just admit to that they do have some unconscious bias against dark skin, I think we can make some headway. But it's always, I don't see color. It's a lie. You do see color. Mm-hmm. Just like that man did when the boy, he didn't, and he just rang the doorbell. And we just had two young ladies in, I think, Texas, two cheerleaders that were shot because they accidentally got in the wrong car. I mean, I just, is it getting to the point, like, I mean, can the mail lady ring the doorbell and give you your mail without getting shot through the peephole? I don't understand, like, what is it with this, preponderance to violence that we have right now? Like, it's just way too much violence going on. Too many people jumping over counters and beating people up because they can't get more yum sauce. It's just, it's starting to be too much.
And it's the ease of accessibility. When people have guns, they get bold. And, you give a motherfucker a gun and he be like, Oh, you stepped on my shoe in the by the time you turn around and say sorry, you got a gun in your face. And it's just guns embolden people. Back in the day, you can have a fist fight, you apologize, you move on. Now it's like you disagree with someone, is everyone's like, oh my God, I say, Dion, I don't like the way your beard looked today. I might be dead. Not that Dion's not gonna hurt me. I don't know Dion. I'm just picking on Dion because he knew. Right? I say, Dion, your beard look bad. Dion might be in his feelings. He woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Dion might decide, you know what? You don't like my beard. I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna kill you. And it's just people have become to a certain degree, overly sensitive of any kind of critique because they be like, oh, you can't criticize me. You can't say nothing bad about me. All I want is good. And as soon as you dislike them or say something bad about them, it's like, oh, you hating. And I'm like, dude, I just said your beard was out of shape. Here's a brush it. Let's move on. But I don't know. People have become overly sensitive and easily triggered. And with guns, people get bold.
Okay, hear me being y'all know I say black all the time. Like I think that is something new for us because as black people, we've never really been that violent of a people. Even when you talk about the crime in our neighborhoods, it's all a function of poverty because rich people don't kill each other like poor people do because they have the things that they need. But I still feel like, and I feel like I'm guilty of this myself in the past for making excuses for old white people who were born in the segregation era. And like, well, that's all they knew. Well, you can learn stuff you want to, but you just choose not to because you keep getting fed by Fox News. Like, we have to stop making excuses for them. Like, this is just who they are and who they want to be. Because if you really want to know and really want to learn, you can really challenge yourself to do better. They just don't want to be better. I'm going to go to a comment, and then we got 2 comments, and then I'm going to go back to my question. So John Young said, this is in relation to Fox News. It was about making money. Rupert Murdoch and the Fox News executives were only thinking about ratings, and that was it. All they wanted to do was keep that lower base of viewers happy and watching the channel despite any truth or facts. Now, I can definitely agree with that because right now, when you think about wealth and racism, like wealth is the new racism. Like most of the people are black and most poor people are white. So like for me, it is the new racism. But you're right. They when you think about the beginning of Fox News, like it was like, well, we can keep these dummies hyped up on Yum Yum sauce, then we can keep making money selling these ads. So like that's a huge problem. Chris said, what would it take for smarter gun laws to be established in the United States? Bro, I'm just gonna tell you, they don't want smart gun laws. They don't even want people to have them registered. They just want us to turn into the Wild Wild West. And the sad part about it is when people talk about gun reform and gun restrictions, like let me just say, Democrats, we got a problem. We don't even know how to argue our own cases because when we say we want smarter gun laws or more responsibility, they trying to take our guns. They can't take our. Nobody says shit about taking your gun, Elmer. We just don't think you need to have a AR-15 laying around in your basement. Like that's literally for hunting people. The framers of the Constitution would have been appalled had they known what these guns were going to come. Literally, you had a musket that took you 15 minutes to load. How many motherfuckers you going to shoot in 15 minutes with that? You know, like we're not even helping our own arguments at this point. You know, like what are we doing? One more from Nazir. Then we're gonna go because that's what they call Elmer. Elmer, that's who they are. But do y'all own a gun? Does anybody own a gun?
I do not, but I've highly considered it. Just the day and times, the times that we live in. I think it's almost a feeling like you don't want to be caught without one, and not necessarily to, bang bang shoot them up, but I mean we've had some serious incidences of unrest, and I don't think people realize. And I don't either. And I don't think I want to know what it's like to not be able to go outside. I say that and people think that it's really extreme, but there are some really weird things going on with these guns and they're showing up just everywhere. 6-year-olds shooting their teacher, people getting shot, getting in the wrong car, going to the wrong house. I mean, every day there is an incident where there is a gun involved. And so it's almost becoming a feeling like I don't want to be the only one without one.
Anybody else?
I do own a gun or two.
I knew Trey was gonna have a gun.
I
Baby, the rest of the girls ain't got no poppers. Trey gonna keep up a gun.
look, I mean, I'm in Texas. It's red out here. I definitely want to feel protected. I mean, even in my apartments, it was a guy who drives a big truck, big country truck, and he has like his ammo. I mean, what is it, like camouflage? Like he does some hunting. He carries his on his hip. Like when he everywhere you see him walking around with his dog, he carries it like and shows it off. That's the type of energy that goes on around here. Like it just the energy screams like, yeah, boy. Like it I don't know.
I can say this though, and again, I got a gun permit 2 years ago. I have yet to buy a gun. I don't even like guns, and I'm kind of like Jay Lloyd was talking about them people. Like, if I got a gun and you fuck with me, we might have some problems. Y'all might have to get some bail money for your boy, because like it's our, you know. But the other thing about this is this, and I think we really need to think about this. I think more Black people, especially in these cities and states where it's like just open carry, where, like Jonathan, like you said, the guy. I think if white people saw us carrying guns like they do, because we don't do that. Yeah. We do not do that. There's so much respect that is involved in our culture and our whole diaspora. Like, we don't do that. But like them mugs, you be in Walmart and Elmer got his damn 45 cocked on the side, and you know we trying to hide ours. I think if they saw more Black people with guns, it would scare the living shit out of them, and they would start doing a little bit better about these gun laws.
I'm gonna say this too, though. But like, it's been people that will carry their guns out, Black men that will carry their guns, Black women carry their guns, and police will start messing with them. Like, oh, like where you going with that gun? Let me see your permit.
But there are permitless states now. Like they don't even care about permits. But even if you got a permit, you are legally authorized to carry that gun. But we just don't do it. I think more of us with guns should start doing it.
I agree.
I mean, it's okay for them to.
Right.
You get out of pocket when you think it's okay for you to. That's the difference. Right. You know, we definitely need to dive into Dr. Carol Anderson in a second, because it's a really, really, really good book that talks about the Second Amendment and its involvement with Black people. And again, like it's never going to be okay for us to open carry.
If we were, some of these laws might be repealed. That's all I'm saying.
I definitely agree, but if you think they're gonna let masses of you and I walk around with guns on our hip and nothing's gonna happen, I mean,
it was a dude who did. There was a guy who did an experiment. Like he carried his gun all day on his hip, like just walking downtown, and he caused so much chaos. Even white people were seeing him and calling the police on him. There's a man waving his gun around. He had a camera following him the whole time. He was never waving his gun. People claimed that he was shooting in the sky. He was like, no, I got footage.
Was he Black or white?
He was Black.
He was what?
He was Black. He was Black. He did an experiment.
Of course, because that's their perception of us. And as we talk about perception, let's move on down to Tennessee. So we all know that Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer was the subject of a kidnapping and murder plot. And we know that had they gotten her, they probably would have killed her. Like, they would have killed that woman. The perpetrators shared the same mindset as those people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. So fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, the Tennessee Three protested their state's lack of response to a school shooting and were ousted. What I find utterly ridiculous was the fact that the white people who ousted them were saying, well, this is just like what happened on January 6th. How, bruh? Like, how are they down at the POTUS doing this? How is that equivalent to y'all shitting and pissing on the Capitol? But again, we're talking about perceptions. So those guys, not the white lady, let's be clear, those guys got ousted from their seats. They have been democratically elected and they were ousted. So again, Tennessee has a supermajority mainly because of gerrymandering, as I said earlier. So what are we to do about the erosions of our rights? Like, how do we fight back? Dion.
I think one of the cool things here I believe that this was kind of like a power play from the beginning. I feel like the representative from Tennessee knew exactly what was going to happen. He's a pretty astute statesman. And so he knew that the white response within Congress was going to be the outcome. He also understood viscerally what type of effect that would rally his base around, also get his name and notability and his platform out to the masses. Ultimately, as we both know, as we all know, that they were able to be recommenced back inside their positions. And so I felt like it was a great power play to show the craziness of the other side, and it was just due, because in all honesty, there is no sincere policy measure on both sides to come together to resolve things like school shootings.
Let me ask you this, Dion, because this is your wheelhouse, and you mentioned it earlier. Because I was watching it, and I think they knew that the white folks were gonna be mad, but I don't think they knew or thought that they were gonna carry it as far as they did. Like literally going from us going down marching with these kids to comparing us to the January 6th insurrection was a bit of a jump. Like it was a bit of a jump. And thank God that they did, because like you said, this helped this platform, this helped like solidify his base and other people who were sympathetic to small d democracy. But like, do you really think that he thought that they was gonna go batshit crazy about this?
Me personally, for sure, because like I feel like every state representative, their moves are really calculated, especially when there's a risk factor involved. He understood that protest by rules of engagement could get him expelled or exposed from his position. So I feel like it was a risk that he decided to take in a very calculated measure, because he felt like he had his people around him, right? He stood on the platform on all 10 toes strong, and he felt like standing on his virtues would signal to the rest of the world something that he thought was very important, which I feel like is definitely something that lawmakers should earnestly come and create some bipartisan legislation around.
But they don't care about bipartisanship no more. We can kiss that baby goodbye.
That's dead for sure.
Who else? Anybody else? And like, what else can we do about this? What else can we do? Because our rights are being eroded right in front of our eyes. Like, what else can we do about it? J. Lord, I'm just gonna call on folks.
Well, I mean, part of it is when you think about voting, we have certain people who are always running for elected office, right? White, old men. Or once you're elected, it's very hard. It becomes very easy to just become very complacent. Right. And a lot of them do not be, a lot of people aren't beholden to the values they run on. They'll tell you, I'm for equal rights. But then there's an asterisk next to that. There's an asterisk next to it, right? You have to make a certain income. You have to look a particular way. You have to dress a particular way. But I'm all for equal rights. And I think what we have to do is we have to start calling people to the carpet. I think part of it is we also need to set an age limit. If older folks are expected to retire at 65, why do you have an 84-year-old man running for president?
Ooh, help me hold on.
Why do you have a 93-year-old person sitting at the Senate? With all due respect, I'm not trying to be ageist, but at the end of the day,
right. That's what they're gonna say. They're gonna be picking in our show now because you ages.
But that's the thing. It's like, if you're saying 65, you need to be retired and go somewhere, or you too old to be starting a new gig, why is it a 90-year-old person sitting in Congress doing nothing?
Let me go.
But I also think that we also got to get younger folks running for political office rather than try to be a rap star on the side of the street. But that's
Holy Ghost. Let me tell you this. Back when I first started doing HIV work, and we started doing advocacy around AIDS Watch, where we went to the Capitol and actually like lobby representatives. Every building that you go in, y'all remember on Gremlins when they had that little cheddar, that lady was trying to go up the steps in and the Gremlins messed it up and shot out the window? Like, it could be 3 steps. They got one of them. And they got one of them because they literally expect for these people to die in office. So you're gonna work up to your last minute. Don't be laughing, Brandon. I'm telling the truth. Ask Jaren. Like literally everywhere you go in DC, they have these little lifts for these old ass people. And let me just say this: I want to get old one day, but I know when it's time to sit down. Like even in my work in HIV, like I know that I am not a 26-year-old black gay man. I used to be, but I don't know what they're doing now. So when anybody wants to come for J-Lo and talking about he's ages because he's talking about these, they don't even understand what's going on at this point because they have not been privy to that life. And it has a little bit to do with the age, but also has a lot to do with culture. So like I get tired of hearing people make excuses for people. Oh, well, that's ageism, that's ableism, no, sit down somewhere. Like Dianne Feinstein, this is a little bit of a segue, but literally she's circling in the drain. Let's just be real. And she's holding up progress. All the white girls love RBG. She should have retired when Barack was in his first term. But then we think about all the stuff, and they say like hindsight is 2020. We think about all these things that should have happened that could have made our lives better. And then like, well, she was our icon. Yeah, she was the icon who should have retired because now we're up here living in the Handmaid's Tale. But I digress. Anybody else before we go on? How many more minutes we got? Okay, we good.
I also feel like having that are that old within like the world stage makes it easier to like siphon different information. I feel like on the side, it's not just like an accountability measure for Biden to make sure all his faculty is there to be a strong leader, but also the party, right? The party is someone that culminates, picks sides, and applies the resources to different candidates to rally around. And they chose Joe Biden, I think, very specifically because he's a easier candidate to necessarily agree.
He's a moderate.
Exactly.
I'm all for moderates. Let me just say that. I'm all for moderates.
You say moderate, but to me, a moderate Democrat may as well be on the right side as well. Let's not forget his whole political history at the Senate. He's very friendly with the Republican side. Like we both know, like we all know as Black people that white supremacy is at the foundation and is a serious problem for both parties to deal with, right? And so with that being said, I feel like with Biden, you have someone who's not only complicit within the structure multiple times as far as his policy record goes, but also someone who necessarily won't question any sort of party moves, right? Barack Obama was a contentious figure within the party because he didn't necessarily always agree with party leaders because he had his own mind. I feel like the older that you are, the more aligned with just the institution you are. And that's kind of what Joe Biden represents. He just ran on old institutions. Let me change things back to normal.
Let me say this. People have their opinions. Like, I'm tired of people talking about Barack. Like, well, he didn't do nothing for Black people. And I'd be like, well, y'all didn't go back to the polls in 2010. So, he can't do what he wanted to do. And I think he was a very progressive thinker. The thing that I have issues with is that we need to sometimes let people be their past and see what they're doing now. And I heard all the criticism about Biden in the crime bill in the 90s. You got former governors of Virginia who wore blackface in the 80s. Yes, that was messed up. That was jacked up. But like, I think sometimes when people talk about the moderates, they forget that even with progressives, they still forget about Black people. When we talk about LGBTQ rights, the right to marry, like I'm always at odds with my two identities. I'm at odds with my Black soul because it's homophobic. I'm at odds with my gay soul because it's racist, and we all experience that in some way. So like there is no like magic bullet or like magic answer to everything, but like we have to judge people for the work that they are doing now. A lot of people did some messed up stuff in their past. I got some stuff I don't even want people to know about, but like using that to say why this person isn't a good candidate, I just don't think it's a really good argument. Because like we've all made bad decisions, but it's crazy. But like I really think that one, he's too old. I'm just gonna say that. I remember when they first started vetting them, I said the last thing I want to do in 2020 is vote for another old white man. But you know what? I did it because he was the lesser of the evils, which is what Black people have had to do for years. So, like, I get it, but like, even when we talk about LGBTQ rights, gay people have more rights than Black people at this point. And that's happened in the last 15 years. We've been fighting battle for our full citizenship for the last 400 years, and we still haven't got there. And again, you see what I'm saying? Like, I agree with you, but like, there are so many nuances to that. Okay, anyway, this is gonna be the last question, as my grandma used to say. So Tuesday, in the great state of Missouri, the governor banned gender-affirming care for not teenagers, but adults. And here's the problem I had with that, because I saw this little dude on TikTok. I'm like, you know what, you're right. Straight people get way more gender-affirming care than gay people, trans people do all the freaking time. When we talk about, like, they're gonna mutilate those little girls and turn them into boys, blah, 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 blah. Well, nobody's doing that to trans kids under age 18. But we will give a 14-year-old girl a boob job. And I can't think of anything that's more gender affirming than getting a fresh set of titties. We got Viagra that is being mandated to pay for, but you can't pay for someone having hormone blockers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not even talk about these lopsided BBLs. So, like, when we talk about personal rights, they're telling me that if I am a trans woman and I say, you know what, I got buku bucks, I'm gonna give me an ass and some titties, I might even do the other stuff. I can't do that. But Karen can get her some new titties and a new ass, and we can't say nothing about it. Like, make that make sense for me. Like, where are we headed if adults don't have the right to self-determination?
The surgery was major too, but what even got me is when they collectively crowded in their psychological well-being too, like, and also saying that that they didn't want them to have any care for their mental health. And I was baffled that they would say that, and then that's one of the first things that you're going across the board when you said that we're attacking these police forces and trying to make sure that we're doing the proper psychological training before they're released out, or with screenings and hiring. So it's like, on one end, the effects of taking care of your mental health, and the effects of not taking care of your mental health. So we've gotten pretty clear that therapy is a well-needed tool. And yet that would be one of the first things that you would take away from somebody that is clearly in need of therapy. Like, I mean, it wasn't even just going as far as the surgeons. It was the fact that you were just denying them peace of mind. Sometimes, I mean, that's all that somebody needs in order to keep their day, in order to keep their sanity. Like, it's just peace of mind. And to know that it's like, I was just utter. I was lost for words to know that they would even, that was even on the agenda.
So, even thinking about this question, one of the things that I'm thinking about is, A, goes back to respectability politics, but B, understanding what does it mean to be trans, right? Because I've heard trans used in so many different ways that I sometimes don't even know what the hell this shit means. And, the thing with people is, like, we like labels. As much as we want to say we don't like labels, we love labels. We will create a label for a shit. And then we want to put it in a bow, and we don't want to call a thing. So therefore, you don't know how to create programs or engage with something that you don't know. Right. And I think that's kind of where I see a lot of the struggle. And it's like, how do we have a conversation about trans health or trans rights when we don't really know what trans health looks like, right? For some people, it's like, okay, I'm a trans man, but I gave birth to a child, right? What does that mean? What does that look like? When we talk about gender in school, we talk about penises and vaginas, right? Women or girls have babies, men produce sperm. I'm a trans male and I'm pregnant. How do we have that conversation? Now, I'm not saying we need to be all up in everybody's business, right? And what's happening in people's bedrooms. But part of it is we need to create some form of understanding around, I think, what does it mean to be trans? How can we support trans community? What do trans folks need other than we need to be just left alone? Because if we leave you alone, we're transphobic. If we don't leave you alone, we're in your business. So it's a lot. it's a lot to deal with, and we need to find some kind of curriculum, just like how we talk about maleness and femaleness, some kind of curriculum that we can talk about trans health. That's just my 2 cents.
Brandon.
I mean, it can be. I mean, I think a lot of places, organizations, try and make efforts to do that. It can be really hard when you can't get people to the table, especially people that are serious about affecting change. And I know that's been challenging in a couple of different places and circles that I've been in. And so I think just really latching on to those that really do and say what they're going to do and not just want to get on a microphone. And I think we can have some real progress, but I think having that spirit of really wanting to understand, and sometimes it's going to be things that through our life, and we've all experienced them, that we don't understand, but you go with, especially when it's not infringing on your rights. Like we open this conversation, I think so many times we want to police what people do, and we don't even realize that we're doing that. And we have to really open our minds and accept the fact that there will be things that occur in our lifetime that we don't understand, but we just need to give room to allow another group to have an experience. And I think a lot of times we forget that.
Twin God.
I just think we are headed where, well, they would like for it to head it to where they continue to have that certain level of control. And again, they use religion to control. And so if it does not align with their Christianity or what they believe, then it has to go. And like I said, y'all know how I feel about, religion and how even with King James and how they translated the root word, it didn't even have nothing to do with homosexuality, the root word from Hebrew. But that's another conversation for another day. And then on top of that,
we need to do a thing on religion. I would love to hear us talk about religion.
Oh, and he was gay. King, he was gay himself.
Maybe all of them was gay. They was second and all this other stuff.
Correct. But again, that's my spiel. It's control.
Dion.
I feel like this caught me by surprise that they took away gender affirming care for adults. I feel like
not for all adults though, because think about it. Think about those other things I said that were gender affirming care. They're not doing anything to those.
No, definitely. Right? For trans folks. I feel like what's interesting is like you have this paradoxical relationship that trans people have with the political arena. At one end, right, trans people are put on the political back burner, and a lot of their needs are never addressed, and value is never given to a lot of the things that should hit the political discussion. And then on the opposite end, it almost seems like when they are in the political discussions, only to take things away or move the community one step back. And so I feel like that this is just another example of that, sadly.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we got 2 minutes. So in 15 seconds, I want y'all to tell me, like, what are you going to do to make sure that our rights are maintained? I'm going to start with Keith, and we're going to end with Dion.
Voting.
Voting is really, really important. Who else?
And so, part of it is also having some of these conversations specifically around people's political agenda or just their positions. And I'm going to say this, give space for those who you disagree with. Because they might have some valid points. They might. I don't know. But, create a space where people who are different can have some kind of spiel about how they feel. So that's what I'm going to do.
Mine will be just educating the community and just being aggressive in voting.
I definitely want to first continue to educate myself to begin, to continue to speak on some of these things and definitely have a more historical foundation of, things that have been done. Because all of this that we experience is not new. The tactics are just different. So I think if we can get at the root of and figure out, what direction we are going in collectively as a group, I think, that will advance our cause a lot more. We really need to disengage with what the other side is doing and kind of just forge forward in what we got going on.
Dion?
For me, I have this odd goal in my life. I want to be able to dedicate all my skill sets into benefiting the community and my community. I feel like with a strengthened communal ties, we'll be more set for the fight in order to change things from local institutions to national.
And I'm back with Keith on voting. Like, voting is still important. So many people feel like their vote doesn't matter. Their votes really do matter, especially the votes of Black people and other marginalized individuals. Before I turn it back over to Jaron, I just want to make one more announcement. Today we lost Carolyn Bryan Dunham. Good riddance. She was the lady who lied on Emmett Till. All right, Jaron. What? I said what I said.
This is a Brother to Brother Lockdown brought to you by LGBT Detroit. LGBT Detroit is North America's largest African-American founded and led LGBT nonprofit. Definitely thank the panel today for a great conversation. Special thank you to our guest panelists today, Dion Davidson with Black Voters Matter. Dion is new to that organization as a staffer, and Black Voters Matter is definitely a great partner to LGBT Detroit. So thank you, Dion, for coming on today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation today. Just a few things that we want to remind you of. Chris, if you'll help me out. Hotter Than July is this July 14th through the 16th. Hotter Than July is July 14th through the 16th. And you can find more information at hotterthanjuly.org. And also, please visit Ticketmaster.com to buy your tickets for our Big Frida, the Hotter Than July concert featuring Big Frida at Motor City Casino Hotel Soundboard. We'll be back in 2 weeks. That's May 11th. Have a great night, everybody.